Narcissism is thought to develop in the early childhood and be visible from the early teens and early adulthood. But some people display high levels of narcissism only in adulthood, some as late as in their 50s and 60s, often after a life-altering event. So the question is, can narcissism be acquired as an adult, or was it always there lurking behind the scenes? In this video, I cover research and current thinking on late onset of narcissism that may be temporary or transient or become permanent. If you think the person you are currently with is no longer the person you started dating or married, then this video may give you some answers. Hello wonderful person, and welcome to Narcissistic Abuse Healing. I'm Anton and I create videos about abuse with a focus on narcissistic abuse to help you understand what was done to you and help you heal from it. Please help this channel grow by subscribing. If you find this video informative or helpful in any way, please like and share it so that more people can benefit from it. Triggers for late onset of narcissism. There are three main triggers for late onset of narcissism. Note that when saying late onset, it means after the mid-20s. A trigger can be a real or perceived success that normally has an initial positive influence on the person, or it can be a real or perceived crisis in the person's life that normally initially has a negative effect on the person. In both these cases, if a person can work through and learn how to deal with the experience, they can return to a previous normal state or even better. If not, they often take the red pill and follow the rabbit so deep down the hole that they start to live in a fantasy world while the real world around them crumbles to pieces. Drug and alcohol abuse is common, as well as outbursts of rage, extreme sensitivity to criticism, and violence. They can lose their family, job, all their finances, and may take their own life. The third trigger for adult onset of narcissism is due to abuse. The first two are discussed in this video. The third, which is reacting with narcissism as an extreme form of self-defense against abuse, will be covered in a separate video. Acquired situational narcissism. Acquired situational narcissism is a construct developed by the late Robert B. Millman, who was professor of psychiatry at Cornell Medical School. Millman noted that some of his celebrity clients displayed high levels of narcissism after gaining financial success, fame, or power. He thought that the life-altering success could lead to the person acquiring narcissism. However, others reasoned that the narcissism was always there, but just suppressed to a degree. This underlying narcissism is thought to have actually driven the person to seek money, power, or fame, and that there were signs of narcissism, but not so much as to alarm those around them. It is thought that the person has grandiose fantasies of themselves being special and bound for greatness, but that they may have been afraid to display it openly for fear of being ridiculed or proven wrong, which is much of a basis for why covert or vulnerable narcissists hide their narcissism. So one may say that the person is a high-functioning covert narcissist. The moment they find real or perceived success in their eyes, it is proof to them of their greatness. This proof can be them becoming CEO of a company, getting a promotion at work, or getting recognition in some other way. They then start to display grandiose narcissistic traits. The more their environment and the people around them support their grandiose views, the worse the narcissism can get. This can cause a person who is normally down to earth to start to become snobbish and look down on others. They treat people not as equals. Most people will be treated with disdain and not worth their time, with a select few being looked up to. It may worsen to the point that they display high enough levels of narcissism to be diagnosed with having narcissistic personality disorder. But as they think there's nothing wrong with them, they will not listen to people warning them of their change and keep on deteriorating. It may lead to them becoming paranoid, where they think people cannot be trusted, as people either want to use them or ruin their success. They may start to treat people harshly, lashing out at even their closest supporters and those who try to help them. They may seek comfort in shopping, sex, drugs, alcohol, to illegal pursuits, all the while thinking they are special and above the law and social norms. As they continue to push past social norms and laws to discover the limits of their power, their glory is often only short-term, followed by a crisis of their own making that many do not recover from. They may end up in jail, lose all their followers, friends and family, and all their assets. Some cannot take the fall from grace and even if they do not lose everything, they would rather take their own life than not be special. Others prefer to deny reality and continue to live in a fantasy world, which may cause them to end up living on the streets or in a mental institution. All the while they blame everyone but themselves for their downfall. Reactive narcissism. A person may start to display high levels of narcissism if they experience a condition or event that threatens their sense of self. Although this is also situational dependent, it is a negative event and has negative effects on the person. The person is reacting to the crisis by displaying narcissism. Some think that they may be regressing to a previous state of narcissism that Freud called primary narcissism, which is thought to be from age 6 months to 6 years. The narcissism is thought to protect a fragile ego and sense of self as the child grows up, which should go away with a healthy supportive family. If the support is toxic, inconsistent, or lacking, it may develop in what some call secondary or pathological narcissism. But if the temperament of a child and the environment are right, the narcissism goes away, only to return in a time of crisis. However, others do not agree. It may be that there was always underlying narcissism but got triggered to come out by the life crisis. There is no clear consensus on this, with some calling it transient, temporary, short-term, or reactive narcissistic regression. However, what is clear is that a person who seemed normal and caring can at times of crisis, or sometimes for no apparent reason, change as if a switch was flipped and become highly narcissistic and vindictive as an adult when there was little or no narcissistic traits before. Whether there was underlying narcissism or they are regressing to a previous narcissistic state, the results are always negative. The trigger can be them losing their job, a divorce, a loss in the family, or even something as small as their partner demanding they say they are sorry or accept blame, or their partner asking them to recognize their achievements. They become verbally and physically abusive, mean and sadistic, as well as vindictive. They may lash out at everyone around them and blame everyone for everything they can think of. They often make life as difficult as they can for those around them, and may even actively try to ruin their spouse and their own children's lives. They may even turn their adult children against each other or their spouses for reasons only they know. Their behavior is often described as childish and immature. The person may act as if they are omnipotent and a know-it-all while caring little for the people around them. They often become intolerable, self-important, arrogant, and paranoid, while still seeking admiration and validation. They may start to live in a fantasy world. Depression, self-sabotage, alcohol and drug misuse, and self-hatred often occur. It may appear as if they have gone completely over the rails and become a treacherous and vindictive person who would discard their family and relationships that lasted decades. People often describe that the person they married or started dating went to bed one evening and a new person woke up the next day. Although it can happen at any age, it often happens in midlife, such as late 40s or early 50s, and then just after retirement, especially when retirement funds are not sufficient and financial troubles begin, or when they are faced with a prospect of old age, such as a medical condition or simply a younger person rejecting their advances. It can also be triggered by mortality, such as them facing their mortality in a near-death experience, or a family member or friend passing away. As there was no previous abuse, and they may have been good to their family, their change often confuses their family. Spouses may not think the change is permanent and cling to the hope that the narcissist will revert back to their loving self. They may also feel guilty for wanting to abandon a person who seems to be in need of assistance in dealing with their crisis. However, unlike normal people, who may go into depression or procrastinate doing tasks when facing a crisis, here there is abuse and often vindictive behaviors. Treatment for narcissism is long, very expensive, and often unsuccessful. However, with acquired situational narcissism, where the person was more or less normal before gaining success, they may be helped to be not as narcissistic and not let their success go as much to their brain. This is often only possible if a person starts to feel depressed or battles an addiction, as they otherwise cannot be convinced that they are normal, because they are not, and their success and admiration from people prove it to them. The depression and addiction are then treated, While a therapist may in passing note some narcissistic behaviors, some react negatively to hearing they are narcissistic and stop therapy, while others react positively and seek to change their behaviors. The temporary or transient narcissist, however, is another story. Because their situation is negative, they not only need to address their narcissism and accept responsibility for their actions, but also address the negative situation in their life that they may not be able to change, such as a divorce, a loss of a loved one, a loss of their health, and so on. Often they keep on spiraling downward while becoming more and more toxic to the people around them. This may force friends and their spouses to leave them, which can leave a person even more embittered and full of rage. Their life can become consumed with vindictiveness and with seeking revenge. If their newly chosen path is not arrested, they may choose to abandon reality, choosing to rather live in their fantasy world where they are often grand and special, yet paranoid that people have it in for them. If a person in your life has been spiraling out of control due to a crisis in their life, then you need to take precautions for your future. You may need to secure the family assets and finances in case the person tries to spend it all. Also look to your safety. You may also need to seek therapy for the abuse you suffer from them. For there may come a time when the best action for you and your children may be to leave a person before they destroy you and your children's lives. It can be helpful to have someone knowledgeable in narcissism look at your situation and help you decide the right course of action. Leaving a person who has abused you all your marriage is hard enough, but leaving a person who possibly for decades has stood by you and seemed to be an okay spouse and now suddenly changed is not going to be easy. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative or helpful in any way, like and share it so that more people can benefit from it. If not subscribed, please subscribe now. Please leave a comment as it helps to expand the information covered in the video, which may be of benefit to others. See my books on narcissism by following the links in the description. For donations, please use the donation button on the banner or follow the link in the description. Thank you.